Welcome back to Goldenridge. Today we're expanding the downtown core by realistically transitioning from high-rise density to medium and low-rise areas and building out our coastal leisure district. So let's get to work. Okay, so last time we got our city core built, and I've made a few adjustments since last time, you may notice. Nothing crazy, I just kind of moved some of the bigger buildings around and tried to centralize the density a bit, and include a bit more of those kind of mid-level high rises just to kind of make the density feel a little better. I still am really loving this like central building in the middle with the gold top, but from this angle, it's kind of dividing the left and right of the density a bit. And in order to keep that kind of profile, I don't have anything behind it, and there's the park in front of it. So I think it looks cool and it's super unique, but I don't know how kind of realistic it's feeling. So once we fill in this area around the off ramps, maybe it'll feel a little different, but we'll see if we end up leaving that exactly how it is, or maybe we end up, should we have like a super tall building right there in the middle kind of as the centerpiece. So we'll see how that works. But for now, I'm really liking how this is all feeling, and I think we're off to a great start here. So today I want to work on kind of two things. I want to fill out this little area we have in here in between what I've put up as Buckman Point. Buckman is an area in Portland across from downtown. So it's on this little point here. So I added the point. And then we still have downtown, and we still are looking for a name for this city. So downtown what? We'll work on that. So I want to figure out this kind of area as well as kind of rounding out this area. And we'll see, we might move down into this peninsula area a bit. Like I mentioned, originally this was going to be industrial and a port, but I've since changed my mind, and I think I want to do more of a Vancouver coastal kind of high-rise residential area, almost like you would see in somewhere like Miami, but in a more kind of northwest areas, which is interesting because Vancouver has exactly that. It's got a lot of these really modern high-rise residential buildings right on the water, but obviously in a more mountainy area. So and also kind of fill out this little cove area here. So I think the first thing we can look at doing is look at this boardwalk area. So I kind of filled in most of this. There's still some stuff, but I left this open so that we can get in there today. And then also just looking at kind of down this, I'm liking the way that the density doesn't just end with the highway. I definitely want that to cross over, and we may need one or two more tall buildings over here, so that our skyline from over here, yes, we're going to have this gap, but it's not going to just be instantly low rises on the other side. And same goes looking for that. Well, maybe we look at it this way. Looking at it this way too. I don't just want there to be, I always wonder if we need some high rises, or not high rises, but some taller buildings here. And I definitely want to have some here. I don't want this little, technically this is a peninsula, I don't want the high kind of downtown high-rise density to be completely isolated by the river. I just think the way it flows off more naturally just has a bit of a better look, and it's probably a little more realistic. So like, for example, this area, I want to make sure we still have some bigger buildings over here. But let's start over here, and I think let's take a look at some mixed residential here, and particularly with the urban promenades, because I think that these have a bit of a more modern feel to them, and I definitely want to get a bit of that in. And because we have this angle, what I was thinking is, I don't know if this is gonna work with, at least here, is this gonna be too wide? So what I was thinking basically is just to kind of divide this into a short street. Let's try with an alleyway, so that we can maybe get some of these blocks a little squared off. I don't know if this is gonna work. Let's make sure these are ground level roads. and also that they are lined up here. So just like that. And then basically what I wanted to do is make sure that these are squared up, because some of these urban promenades, for whatever reason, they decided that having these giant white sides was a good idea. These buildings look great, but I don't know why that's a thing, because basically unless these are up against something else, they look silly. You can't just have, like, no building is, I mean, there's not even a texture there. Like if you look right here there's like a stucco texture, and here it's just nothing. It's just like plain unfinished white. So I thought that was very strange. So basically I want to make sure that these are at a right angle so that we can get at least some of these in, because they're great looking buildings, but it's hard to use them kind of in the way that I wanted. So it is what it is. But so let's get this in here. I don't know how much they're going to work a little farther down, but that's okay. So let's see. I wanted to get some of these apartments in here. Kind of these mid-level, mid-rise kind of apartments, so that, like, even right here, like, so what am I can't put this smaller building next to that because we just have this ridiculous, well, I guess there is a little bit of a texture on there, but still, it's just, it drives me nuts, because it feels like such a weird choice. So I guess in that sense, we're gonna maybe have to stick with the, when you got the lower ones, you got the lower ones, and when you got the high ones, you got the high ones, which I prefer that we would be able to mix and match these a bit. I think that feels a little more realistic, but we have what we have. I cannot get over that. What the thinking behind that was. So let's just get a few more, I guess, of the smaller ones, and see if we can get this one in about there. And yeah, I just basically wanted to kind of tear down and modernize as we move closer to the water, just so that we can kind of, I think there's a lot of, I'm assuming this is probably a redeveloped area. Used to be a port of some sort, maybe, but now just has kind of been redeveloped into more of a boardwalk. We'll get some leisure stuff in here, and I think that'll really set the tone for what I've been looking for. Like, I think this looks great. So let's maybe at least, that one's kind of feeling weird. I guess what we'll have to do at least is if we have those not so much facing outwards, because I think the only angle we're really going to be looking at this where that's going to matter is from over here. So let's just make sure that we get these in, like that at the very least, to avoid more of this kind of issue we have been talking about here. So, okay, I'm just going to go through real quick and get these all laid out. Okay, so I think that's more or less what I had in mind. I just wanted a really, clearly single developer, modern apartment, coastal, area. I mean, that you want to come up on your rooftop deck and take a look at that, like that's pretty nice. These are going to be not going to be cheap. So yeah, that's definitely what I was looking for. I think these are looking great, and I'm kind of, I know we'll literally never look in here again, but I thought this was better than just jamming some big tall trees in here. This is like a much more realistic looking little courtyard pool area. So I wonder if even we want to sink that down just a little bit, and I guess probably these two. Again, not that we will ever look in there again, probably maybe on a flyover though, and some cinematics at some point. So probably better to have that than to not. But yeah, I mean, these feel like great walkable areas. And so let's take a look at some of the leisure stuff and see what might be some good stuff to fit in here. So we have the aquarium right here, and then so that's something that people can come down to do. And then let's see what else they might want to do while they're down here. Probably a good place, the Lobster Tail restaurant. That could be a nice place for something there. And let's see. This is a kind of fancy looking restaurant. Not quite what yeah, this is more what I had in mind. We can get rid of that parking and stuff in the back, so we can get that in there, and then we'll just get rid of this and the fence and a bunch of these bushes so that we are not in the middle of this road here. Tables and probably this stuff, and yeah, that'll work. So yeah, a nice kind of modern looking restaurant down here is good. Probably not a movie theater. Get another roof or kind of balcony barred restaurant. That's doesn't quite fit here. I wonder if we can certainly get rid of these, and that might be enough to get that in. Interestingly enough, this is the front, so I can't put it over here without rotating it, and I definitely want this balcony facing out towards the water. And let's see what else we have here. Might throw another one of these nightclubs down here just to... This has got a rooftop area, so this might be a good thing to fit in there. And hopefully this stuff will just, I know, we're obviously going to be using, this leisure pack is so good, and there's only so many things that there are, but, you kind of gotta, how many different neighborhoods and areas have these exact kind of things, and we only have so many of them, unfortunately. So they're going to get reused, and that's just the way it is. But I think overall that's pretty good for this. And then I wonder if we look at some other, let's see, Anything in the Eastern European? These are all going to look fairly European. Just some shops and stuff. Maybe not. Maybe I'll have Japan. This stuff all looks pretty... not generic, but that's not so much like a coastal thing. That's pretty... well, that's not bad. That could be something down here. Might have shoehorned that one in a bit, or is that gonna fit? That'll fit. So yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at here, I think. Something in that general direction. We'll certainly get some parking in. And then here, okay, so now I can kind of get a little more of this stuff wrapped up, but let's also wanted to look at our ferry and get this up and going so we can maybe get some stuff going on here. So I wanted to continue this road. So we're going to need a bridge section, and I think from here, I definitely want to have a little, kind of bridged area. And I was wondering, I feel like having a curved bridge, I don't know, tell me if I'm wrong. Having a curved bridge like this always feels really weird to me. I feel like these kind of things tend to be a little more, I don't know, like you get a curve from here and then you just go straight from that. And that feels more right to me, but what do I know? And then we'll go back to ground level and we can kind of bring this in like that. So that's going to need some adjustment, but that to me, for whatever reason, feels like it makes a little more sense than having, you know, that actually be curved itself. So I'm liking this little cove area we have here, and then we can get some nice, probably some apartments. I have been avoiding the Southwest pack as much as I can because I want to save that for our other area, but it does just have some low-level apartment stuff that I think we're just going to have to steal a couple from. Let's see. Some of the, not those. Those are like these kind of condo buildings. It just has, that's actually not quite the ones I was thinking of. Maybe the ones I'm thinking of are mixed. Yeah. So it was more some of these. Yeah, these ones. So let's lay down a little grid here and get these dropped in.
Out a little
All right, so there's obviously a little more to do here with this whole little area that kind of get it matching and feeling more like this, but this is about what I had in mind in terms of just having kind of this whole area, just kind of a more modern, redeveloped port area. You know, back in the day when, you know, this city was a big city and it wasn't quite the size skyscraper behemoth that it is now. You know, this probably served as more of an actual port, you know, fishing in this cove and out here and stuff, and old warehouses and all that. And that's all been torn down and removed. And maybe there was even, you know, some landfill. San Francisco, a lot of what's in downtown on the inner side of the bay is all landfill and stuff they've added. So maybe, you know, everything from here. In fact, we'll even do what San Francisco did, and we'll name this Townsend Street, because in San Francisco, Townsend Street is where the town ended, Town's End. So everything that was beyond that was all landfill and stuff. So maybe we'll throw a similar thing in here that all of this kind of area was all landfill and development and stuff, and that the old original city kind of ended here. So yeah, that just throws a little bit of history into that. And so yeah, I'll get more detail in there. But now let's take a look over here. Okay, so for this area, I just want to keep building out our downtown a little bit. Basically, I just want to kind of extend this with some of these kind of medium and some of these slightly higher level buildings, or high-rise buildings, not level, but altitude or height. I just want, like I said, I want to make sure that our big city skyline doesn't just end the second we hit a barrier like these highways or whatever. And this is a little bit of a weird narrow corridor, I will say. It's not my favorite part of everything, but I don't really want to get rid of any more of this mountain or whatever. So let's just take a look. We do have this little raised area here, which I've been trying to figure out exactly what to do with. And we also have this big raised area, which I think we'll keep. This one we might lower down just for the sake of getting, we're not going to be able to probably build up much on that. So let's just go ahead and probably flatten this now. And we can figure out if that was a mistake or not here in a few. But yeah, I just want to make this basically the same level as our street here, so that we can fill this in with some buildings and some stuff. And then in terms of this, I don't know if this feels a little awkward to me. I feel like this road should continue forward a bit and we can cross elsewhere. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this overpass as we have it now. What was this that I threw down? Oh, the climbing gym. I think I decided I wanted to put over here, but so I dropped it just so I'd remember. So I think for this, I'm gonna want to keep this going probably along the train track. We could just kind of break it here actually. And that'll also kind of break up this grid we have going. So let's go with that. And then we'll just use a little curved boy here to connect these on a slight thing. So I think that's better already. I just think that makes a little more sense. And it also honestly feels a little more open now for whatever reason. I feel like that the way I had it was kind of closing us off to some stuff. So let's make sure this is all pretty flat over here. And I don't mind if the train track is at a different height. In fact, that might almost still be kind of better. If it's a little bit lower, I think that's kind of cool actually. And then, although it does make crossing, although we're not gonna cross over directly without an overpass anyway, so that's fine. All right, so if we have that going on, then we have this up here. So I think the first place we're going to cross will be right here. We can just extend this out a bit. I think 30 feet is a little, is that about, that's probably a little high. Come down, I think. So the first place I think I want to cross is right here. We're just going to extend, I don't know what street this is. It doesn't show me, I guess, when I have the tool up. But I just kind of want to create a little lift here. And we'll take this over and just kind of meet this up there. And then let's see. I hope this isn't going to be too steep. That's kind of steep. We can maybe lower that down a little, or at least move it a little closer to the train track to get the angle a little bit down. Let's check the easiest way to kind of check the train is just to throw in. Oh yeah, that is plenty. Great. Okay, so that'll be our first kind of way up. Up here, I'm thinking probably some apartments. It's a little secluded. I guess we could do some industrial, but I do want to again keep some slightly taller buildings kind of up here. So then trying to think of the best place to cross here. We could just kind of do it a 1 and 2, and maybe that actually, I was thinking if we wanted to try something a little crazy, let's get rid of that and push this back a bit. I was thinking we could try, I think we were at 22 is high enough, maybe 26. We could try something like this and then have it kind of use this little lifted part up here to kind of help us create kind of like almost like an in-city off-ramp kind of thing. So imagine if it were kind of like that, and then just taking regular road and kind of having it like come down almost like you would something like this or something like that, and then you would go up there and go across. But it feels a little weird. I don't really want to flatten this hill in order to like build out some stuff up there. So I don't know that that's gonna work, but I mean, I guess we could even just do it kind of like this. I mean, that's janky, but and that could be the way over. But I feel like that's just kind of feels a little weird. So I think we will just stick with a couple of kind of ground level crossings. We can probably get one in. We can just go straight across like that, to be honest. Probably make this 4-lane just because might get some traffic there, and certainly some backup maybe, you know, with this kind of crossing here. So probably better to have more lanes. So that gets us across. This will get us across, and we'll start there. We could also, and actually now the more I'm thinking about it, I wonder if we just lower these train tracks down more and kind of make them all go underneath, at least until let's say out here and maybe around here. I think we're going to do that, actually. I just don't like the way that I want the train tracks in here, but I don't like the way it's kind of dividing the road layout. So we'll let this come all the way down, and so we'll start here, and we'll bring this down a bit to that's kind of where we can let our slope be. And then I guess we're just going to delete this for the moment, and probably this. And so then let's kind of select here and here and here and here. And let's try that for the moment, and then we will kind of match those up, and that should be plenty to cross. So let's get our road back in, and then we'll probably bring those up a little bit just to so let's see, we'll have this road 2-lane here and curved, and we'll have this one kind of come out to about there and then make its turn. Actually, let's do that the other way around. Just makes it a little easier to go this way. And then curve that in to about there. And I think that makes a ton more sense and looks a little cooler. So let's make sure we have enough clearance. And we have just enough. So I actually think I'm going to bring these train lines down just a smudge. Smudge. Just so that we can get just a little bit more clearance. I'm just gonna hit the button like once or twice. So boom, boom, that'll be plenty. It's okay if they're tight. I just want it to look like they're, at least trying to give people enough coverage. So then we will need to bring these down at least until here, and then this can start to come up there. And then as far as over here, that I think will work. So I think that's going to be quite a bit better. And it also creates a little more, multi-level stuff, which I think is always good. So let's just flatten this out and kind of make that. We can even actually maybe make this some sort of industry kind of train yard something. So we'll take that to about there. And then we're actually going to want to, let's see. Let's just make another. That's probably fine for the moment, actually. We'll not worry about that now. I wasn't sure if we wanted the bridge to go that far, but I'm not going to worry about that too much right now. And then for this one, we'll kind of do the same thing and cross like that, and that'll work. And then for up here, let's just we can kind of maybe get this road to kind of swing through, or do we want a T? Yeah, maybe we just go with, make our own little kind of a micro grid up here. It's micro greens, but for city planning. And we can just kind of get something like this going out here. And I'm not really sure what kind of stuff we'll build up here yet, but I think it'll help us to just get a little bit of a grid going. And then in terms of coming down, maybe we just take this one across and we'll keep our elevation right as close as we can to 0% gray. 0.6 is fine. And then we can bring that all the way down to, oh, that was not at the curve that I had in mind. So we'll just bring this down to 0% and bring it off to kind of like that. Okay, I think that is off to a pretty good start. So I'm just gonna hop in here real quick and throw down a little bit more of a grid and get some more roads going in here, and then we'll start looking at some buildings, and then I'll fill the rest of it out. Okay, so now we got those roads down, and as I was kind of poking around after that, I ended up upgrading this block from a bunch of kind of really low, these kind of building commercial stuff to a little bit bigger. I was realizing that it got a little flat, a little stark, and so I think these are fine, but I did want to build it up a little bit more. And then I was also looking at this building, which at the time I liked, but as you're coming down this angle feels, I don't know, I feel like you should have something there maybe a little more that kind of stands out and greets you. So I was looking at these two. I think this one's a little tall. It kind of blocks some stuff, but this one is tall, but also narrow enough that if you pointed it like this, it kind of fits in that space. And then as you're coming down, although now I'm realizing it does kind of block this big guy, which is, you actually would be coming down here. So yeah, I think that works. On this road, you're coming down there. Yeah, I think that'll be good. Looks like we have it the wrong way though. There we go. Okay, so I think that is a bit better. Kind of a nice statement building there. And then just kind of looking around, I'm really liking this one here. I do like this building, but I'm not sure exactly if it feels a little, maybe actually we do like this. And then we just kind of move this one over. Because I do like these really tall ones right next to the freeway. It kind of creates a nice corridor type building. Let's see why this is not. Oh, we got to turn that one more time. There we go. There. So I think that works in terms of, that's a nice big kind of tall entryway to the city. So that's working. And then in terms of kind of how we're going to fill this out, this is where we can start to taper off to a little more lower bit of, you know, heights more along this line. I still want to keep it, you know, high-ish, but we can definitely start to taper it down in this little area. So let's take a look at some, let's start with some offices and see where we can go that are any of these North American ones. See, these really narrow kind of skyscraper ones are a little bit like, I think that feels, you know, kind of weird. And these ones that are just really small like that, I just don't love. So we might need to get out of, oh, here we go. These are a little bit better. So something like that I think works. Yeah, this is a bit more what I had in mind. This kind of medium office. I think this is I think these are actually medium commercial turned into medium office buildings. But I think this is a bit more what I was looking for. So just these kind of chunkier, lower, bigger footprint, but lower height. And then we're just going to get rid of all these billboards. I will never understand why these vanilla buildings just have so many billboards. So that's already decent, and we can plop just a few more of those height in. Let's try some mixed stuff here. Maybe this European stuff. That's not bad. Actually, let's see. We want to flip that on this side, I think, actually. And these European offices, I have a feeling, are not going to quite have the right look. Yeah. So let's just do this North American. I think this is going to be what we are going to want. Stuff a little more like that. And we can start to, maybe we can get one in there and square this up. And then for this area up here, I just want to look at these residential apartment buildings. Some ones like these, I think, are kind of what I had in mind for up here. I think these feel appropriately kind of mid-century, kind of 70s, like modern, not really old, but also not, you know, super new. And just kind of have this be a bit of a kind of residential condo type of neighborhood. So we can just kind of throw these in like that. And these are cool. I mean, how's that for a place for a pool? And you've also got a view over here, so that's working out real nice. Let's see. I don't want to get too repetitive with these up here, but I do want this to kind of have a pretty specific kind of look to it. Maybe we get one tower out there, and then we can kind of go with some of these lower ones here. And kind of bring these up a little. I think some stuff like that will work. Get another corner one over here, and let's see. I think that's the one we kind of used over there. That's another one of these corner ones. It's a little big maybe, but I think we can go with that. So that, I think, works pretty well. And then for this other side, I think we can look at some commercial stuff. Might be an interesting place just to have some supermarket and just some other kind of low commercial stuff. Let's get this on there. And we have a little bit of space back here. Let's see if we can extend this a bit and push this out towards our railroad here. We are going to have to, I think, get rid of these parking lot stuff on the side of this, because that is starting to hang over there. Let's see if we can just extend this out so that that at least is on the corner. Yeah, that'll work. And we can bring that in there, and then let's see if we go in here with an alleyway, and we can kind of get this coming across here. And I'm not going to connect this, but we'll just get that in there. And I think for back here, let's see if we just look at like a little warehouse or something. Just throw in a little bit of light industry. We can kind of get one coming like that, just so that we can go a different direction. And yeah, something like there. And that's going to be too big. That's actually, I think if we switch these, we should be okay maybe. This one's a little bit narrower, so we can fit this one in there and this one in there, and then that'll work pretty good. And it looks like we'll just get rid of some of the stuff around this to make that fit, and then that I think will work. So that's looking nice and snug. We'll fit in some detailed stuff, some parking lots and whatever back there, and then I think for more of this, I'm just going to fill this in with some, I think this is another good place for some of these kind of lower commercial stuff like we were just looking at. Kind of this, let's see, North American. We've got a couple of gas stations here, but if we look at some of this lower, these kind of things I think are going to be nice around here. Let's see, like probably go with parking stuff there. It is a tight space, but I think we can we can fit some good stuff in here. And throw that there, and we'll just move this road back like that, just to get this in fitting nicely. Okay, I'm gonna go through. I'm actually not sure about this one. I think this one is not quite looking right. I'm gonna go through here and just get this little area kind of filled in, so that we can kind of take this view and get this kind of looking fairly final. Okay, so that I think is a pretty good start. I expanded a little farther in this direction than I had planned to, but I think I just was kind of finding the right buildings I wanted, so I just kind of ran with it. I think getting some of these government buildings over here is nice. They're just a little bigger and kind of industrial and give a little bit more of that civic look. This is the welfare office, but it also kind of looks like a DMV kind of thing, which I thought was working. And then, yeah, I just think this, speaking of the billboards earlier, like what company do you think is in this building? It's hard to tell exactly whose building this is, but maybe on their website you can find out. It's just crazy. It's insane. I'll never quite understand some of that stuff, but not important. But overall, I think this is looking good. You start looking from down here, you've got that kind of Once you get out of the main downtown, you've still got some high-rise buildings, or not high-rise, but mid-rise buildings next to some low stuff. You got some medium stuff. Got a whole nice strip of shops and stuff over here. I'm gonna hit play. I realized it was paused. Looks like we're gonna have to get rid of some chimneys, at least. Is that one actually gonna produce anything? Maybe, we'll see. But that one's gonna have to go, and maybe we'll swap some of these out because a lot of these chimneys tend to poke back up. So we'll see if we just don't switch those out for some slightly different ones. Also, like this little kind of sunken ground level. I'm just kind of assuming this is all train related stuff, and we might switch this around to be a little bit more open. I want this to feel like kind of one big thing, not a bunch of little stuff. So we'll maybe maneuver that a bit, but overall I think this is looking great, and it's going to really come together when there's more detail and this is all filled in and it's not just this grass and these kind of like lame sides. This is going to, I think, feel really good. So the other thing I wanted to look at real quick, so we did our coastal boardwalk area, and I was just kind of poking around, and I didn't record any of this, unfortunately, but I ended up kind of just doing with this little beach area. Was not anything I had planned, which is why I wasn't recording. I was just kind of tidying up some little stuff, and I ended up with just this huge beach area that I think is actually really sweet. So got your little kind of walk pathways down to the beach over here and over here. I did put some invisible foot traffic paths on the beach. I don't know if that's going to work. They are connected to these, so in theory it'll work, but I don't know if it actually will. I also got this Dockyard Lounge Park in here, which I think is, I mean, that's a perfect place for kind of a Sunday fun day watching the game on a big screen outside. So that's going to be sweet. Got a little hotel area, and yeah, just got this a little more filled in with some detailed stuff. And then I did take down, we put in 3 kind of high-rise apartment buildings that I just wasn't loving, so we're going to figure out exactly. I may end up just wrapping this all the way over, so we'll still have to finish that. I think next time we're going to move in this direction and get this neighborhood going, so we can kind of call this whole side here kind of done-ish. And then I also want to extend some of these higher-rise buildings onto this side as well, so they can cross the river, and we'll get a little kind of mini downtown, mini financial area over here. So I'm just going to go through here and fill in a bit more of this detail. Okay, so I think that really gives an idea of kind of what I had in mind. I think you put the camera, let's see, right about here, and position it just to hide some of that grass area, and you get a pretty good idea of how this is all going to start looking. And I think it's looking pretty sweet. So I'm really liking this wall of bushes and trees here. I think that's just kind of a cool green area, and then just kind of mixing it up as we go. And I have noticed that there is quite a bit of traffic. Actually, it's calmed down a little bit. There was traffic out to about here a minute ago as this is all being filled in. And I think that's because if you come in from this main highway, that right now at the moment is the only way to get here. So we can either bring these down, and also I was thinking we have an off ramp from here kind of coming down there as well, and maybe, you know, one coming back up. So we'll connect some of that next time, or, you know, in the near future. And obviously the traffic will calm down once this gets settled, but as we continue to build out this area, which now will also need to be kind of its own little area, kind of, let's see, maybe probably like that. I don't know, maybe we extend it over here, not sure. Again, we still need a name for downtown. Downtown what? What is the name of this actual city? So we'll need a name for that. And I wonder if we actually push this back a bit to not include this like beachfront area, and kind of let this be its own kind of coastal zone, something like that. So yeah, we'll need to figure out exactly what is going to go here. And it's so weird where these sit, like why that doesn't sit more in the middle, I don't quite understand, but not a big deal. There we go. That's how you can fake it. So that will need a beach area. And anyway, yeah, I think this is all feeling really good. I'll go ahead and continue with some of this detailing on off camera, just because it's pretty time consuming and tedious, but that's why I wanted to do a little bit of it here, just to give you guys an idea of how I'm going about that. And then, yeah, I think we'll probably head down to this area and continue there. So thanks a lot for all your views and your comments, and appreciate all the feedback, and the likes and comments really help a lot. So keep those coming, and we'll see everybody next time. Thanks so much. Bye.